So I'll do this for you again. This is what the state of California has legislated. I control your entire country, your state, all your people. I'm above everybody. There is nobody above me. Because none of you know how the Constitution works. You don't understand the 9th Amendment. I command your entire Constitution in your country through the 9th Amendment with the 10th. Together, those two create an inseparable unity, and that's what this nation was about, a more perfect union. So, this doesn't really tamper with the legal argument when you use the preamble. In fact, if anything, it strengthens it. It's not used as a legal argument, it's used as an argument of meaning for the Constitution. It's not the law itself that comes through the 9th and the 10th. What backs it up and reinforces it is the fact that the preamble set out what our Constitution's about. Like a framework. What's this for? A more perfect union, not a more perfect division. So here is what the state of California is doing, and I would imagine, this is the same formula that's happening and can be applied to or being violated also all around your country. So the 10th Amendment in the state of California, they've used this to legislate mental health laws. These mental health laws just are wild. They're just bucking out of control. The state has legislated this. The governor, they're all aware of these laws. This is how they're using it now. So I've had it used against me. Their mental health courtrooms are out of control. Their peace officers, their police officers, their sheriff's officers can arrest you for any reason that they want. You don't even have to commit a crime. You're now locked up. You don't get due process. You're losing your rights without due process. I'll cover all of it. But what this comes down to, what it amounts to in the end is it's a 10th Amendment violation. This is prohibited. That's where it begins. So the 10th Amendment says you can't do this because what they've done is they've laid claim now to arresting you through freedom of speech that results in an abridgment of your speech. So they did this to me. I said people die. That's it. So we can get over how ridiculous this is. It's not somebody's opinion. I said people die. So I go, now how can I say it? Maybe if I do it like this, maybe if I'm a girl and just go, people die. And we can just imagine that I'm a little girl with long hair. People die. That one might be okay. Or maybe it's the tone of my voice. Maybe it's like, people die. So what we're going to have to do then, if that's the case, is we're going to have to invent like some, you know how I have physical appearance schizophrenia. So that we're going to, the image of schizophrenia will be this. But we're going to have to invent like an intonation reader or meter. Well, here's the tone of voice that you can have. And here's the decibel level. Now, if you say it louder than this, and it has this tone of voice, then it's the new law. That becomes the crime. So, of course, they know why I said this. It's a framing conspiracy community, and they're all criminals. The entire community. This isn't community watch. This isn't anything. This is community bullshit. They're all criminals. So, it's all through their sheriff's department, their mental health field. They're all stupid. That's what it is, because this is how ridiculous their argument would become. So what is it? Is it the tone of voice? Maybe how somebody says it. Maybe if I talk in a high-pitched voice or a low-pitched voice. Or if I'm a girl, does it apply to gender? How about homosexuality? What if I'm a gay guy? People die. Which is what they wanted. We want him to be a gay guy. So this is a giant drone army too. They're trying to drone people. I don't know who created it. CIA, Sheriff's Department, etc. They're all working together. They moved in here. It's part of the federal government. That's part of what they claim is federal immunity. They don't have any. There's no such thing. You can't commit crimes against people. That results in sedition against your own country through and by your government and treason. And in this case, whoever they're sharing it with, espionage, if so. But the 10th Amendment violation, you can't arrest somebody for not committing a crime. You can detain people in the pursuit of a crime. They called this like an arrest, like a crime, without really any questioning, except for the questioning was, do you think people die? And I said, yes. Well, everybody who lives dies. I was then under arrest. That was my explanation, too. So these guys then enforced their religion on me after abridging my speech and said that they are immortal and eternal. They don't die and they live forever. So I was taken down to this behavioral health services office, and I had to take medicine. So constitutionally, and that's involuntary, and I don't know how that's not a violation of some privacy right or my bodily rights. All that's out the window. Like, you involuntarily take this now because you said something. That results in whatever we claim you have. Now you got to take medicine for that. So I don't know I don't know what they gave me medicine for. If saying people die results in bipolarity, it's insanity. The whole place is insane. They're judges, they're mental health, behavioral staff, all these people. They don't make any sense. They're all stupid. So the 10th Amendment is the violation. Okay, that's prohibited because you're abridging the freedom of speech and enforcing religious ideology. So that's prohibited. It's anti-constitutional legislation from the start. You can't argue from that position. It's self-defined as anti-constitutional. It's loser. It lost from the start. It's what they'd call de facto, not de jure, illegitimate, invalid. Notwithstanding, like Article 6, Section 1 is to the contrary at the state level of the Constitution. So, with the correct punctuation to make the sentence harbor the necessary grammar, of course. So, this is what happens. Here's your constitutional rundown. Here's everything that it violates, and it's crazy. It's almost the whole Constitution, every Bill of Right. Every right in the Bill of Rights. So you have the 10th that violates the 1st. This is how they've used it on me. This is what happens. They frame and conspire with illegal technology, which is how they get it done to begin with. And then they're so desperate to get you to do something else, they start arresting you. This is what they did to me. They're just desperate to get me for anything. They follow me everywhere, harass me, stalk me. They just start arresting you for following the law out of desperity. So the civil arrest for following the law extended my court process to December. So now I can't get my property back from the sheriff's department. So, okay, I know this has gone on long enough. So here's the Constitution. Nobody knows the Constitution, only your president. And he doesn't either because we've had them. None of them do, only me. So the 10th violates the 1st. That's a violation of the 1st. That's a violation of the 10th. It's prohibited. You can't even have it. So when that occurs, you violated the 9th. The 10th is a part of the enumeration. It has certain rights in it, certain powers. Rights are powers, powers are rights. You can't construe this against itself. You can't give a citizen a right or a civilian a right that construes against the powers of the government so that the government can't conduct its official duties and responsibilities. You can't give the government a power or a right that may be construed against a right that's retained by a citizen or a civilian. What this does is it just justifies crime and or it erodes away the function of our government. You don't have a government anymore. Your people don't have rights. Nothing exists anymore. It's just all out anarchy and insanity. So when you violate the 9th, that's what happens. You've construed the Constitution against itself, and within the 9th is the 10th. That's part of the enumeration. So in the 10th, you have certain rights. Democracy, legislation, both your government, as I just named off, and your people. Now, when you pass a right through one of those or both of those, that then becomes a certain right or a right retained. All of your rights are certain. That's what the 9th is telling you. These are all certain. So you can't use one against another, which is why they end up being retained in the second use of the adjective of the explaining the rights. So you have the right at a state level through the 10th, as long as you follow the law. You haven't had this removed through a court process, due process, or until it's repealed. Or otherwise stricken down or struck down by a judicial proceeding or some ruling that's legitimate and through an authoritative form of government. You have your right, just as much as you have any other right in the Constitution, any amendment or article. You have those rights until it's repealed, or until like I said, you go through due process. That's part of due process, the opportunity to be present and heard in a court of law before a right's removed. So what the state of California has done is that. So we did the 9th, the 10th against the 1st, which results in the 9th. Now, what the other stuff that they've done is they upheld hearsay. This is a court of opinions. It doesn't require evidence. I go over this all the time, but I have to because they're stupid. They're sitting out there watching this and listening to this. They do this often. I get arrested for it, but they won't admit that they're wrong, and I have to keep going to their courtroom that they've extended till July now. December. So the 10th is against the 1st. That violates the 9th. They then arrested me for following the law, extended it to December, and said, we get your Second Amendment right through a contract without due process. So then that violates the 5th and the 14th, where due process is located, and due process is redundantly extended to the state level in the 14th. We already have that delegated to us in the 5th. And the 10th explains that. Well, anything not delegated nor prohibited, well, what did the 5th do? Delegated it to the states and the people. So then they give me assistance of counsel for following the law. It's an insult to the Constitution. This assistance of counsel in Amendment 6 is for committing a crime. Then we have the Fourth Amendment's warrant. Explicated upon in the Fourth is the manner in which a warrant is obtained or attained, and all the effects, persons, places, things, papers, etc. to be seized or searched, and including the electronic penal code sections that we now have at the state level. But what you may not do with the Fourth, again, is violate the 9th. You can't say, well, I know where this guy's at every second of every day, so I can follow him and harass him, stalk him, and sleep deprive him, and yell at him, and do whatever I want to him, and just bother him all the time. All you have to do is the power to investigate. Nothing else. Hands off at a distance. In fact, when you don't stay hands off and at a distance and pretty much covert, it violates the 9th, because now the guy knows what you're doing, and that's what you've become. You're removing his other rights. Liberty. This becomes unnecessary government interference beyond the scope of the powers delegated in the Fourth Amendment to conduct an investigation or search and seize. So then we have the 8th, because they're using this to torture. So it's cruel. It's a cruel and unusual punishment. I'm being injected with needles for. I mean, how could this not be following the law? And having my rights removed. And then it's like a public, whatever we're doing in the public here. It's a public persecution. So the 14th also has equal protection in it. When you remove my rights or cause them to be in an unequal playing field in comparison to what other people have and retain, and it's without me committing a crime. It's just here just because something's wrong with your head. And they can't prove it, and this is how I prove that there's nothing wrong. I understand the Constitution better than you do. You don't even know what the thing means. So I lose equal protection. And then somebody ordained and established these courtrooms that operate this way. It's anti-constitutional, so we have Article 3, Section 1. Now, what also happened is we had a judge uphold these opinions by a professional psychologist who claims that, well, I can't be the president. And Article 2, Section 1 says, there are requisites, eligibility requisites, Clause 5, or Paragraph 5. 35 years of age, 14 years a resident, a natural-born citizen, not a psychologist's opinion. It doesn't say that in here anywhere. So we have Article 1, Section 7, too, where the President and the Congress work together, and they're passing similar laws that support and defend this mental health crap. It's a violation of all of our rights, including at the state level. It can't be done. This is the way it's being exercised and practiced, too, so I'm living proof. That goes into probably Title 42 of the United States Code, some type of health and welfare. And if it's anywhere else, like in 18 or 28, it's not a crime, and whatever it is, it can't be any type of constitutional judicial procedure. So we have Article 4, Section 1, 2, and like I said, I don't think that they're following any type of public acts or records. I see stenographers often in the courtroom, and they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there, if that's even the stenographer. So nothing's being taken down in the courtrooms. Nobody's sworn under oath. The people could stand up and lie. Behavioral health services, which is what they have done. The judge can uphold hearsay, can uphold anything he wants, send you off to a hospital, call you incompetent, say you're diseased, and you don't even have to see a doctor. And he also ruled for this Judge V. He ruled for involuntary medicine before I was diagnosed. So anybody who doesn't know how that works, you have to be diagnosed before you can be prescribed medicine, which means that he just had this planned. There was no diagnosis, thus no prescribed medicine, and he ruled for involuntary medicine. So, then we have Article 6, Section 1, Supremacy Clause. It says everything must be created in pursuance of the Constitution. So obviously when you violate Amendment 10, you violated the Supremacy Clause. Now when you've done that, of course it's at the state level too, so you violated the last clause in Article 6, Section 1, or the last sentence, which states that this is notwithstanding because it's to the contrary, but no judges have recognized this. Only me. So your Constitution's like Tinker Toys and Legos for me. It's little kid toys. If that's all you ask of a president, then I must be the greatest ever. This thing is in my pocket, and I just walk around with it, and it's a laugh. It's a joke that anybody thinks they're above me, or that there could be any counter argument to my strong logic. All they have are opinions. I mean, they have a whole profession of it, and it's a lack of evidence. That's what this whole thing is about. The evidence is here. What you're listening to me espouse is only rational, only reasonable, only constitutional. It's crisp. There's no fallacy in my logic. This is the Constitution. So if you want me to go over it again, it's so many. And they also violated their own state constitution. Article 1, Section 1 sets out that I have rights, including the pursuit of happiness. Well, two doctors removed that from me. That was Oracle Chelson, who said I couldn't be the president, violated Article 2, Section 1. And then Oracle Graff, who said that the pursuit of happiness in the state of California is only in being wrong. These are their mental health doctors. They're insane. So, all of this is a violation of my free speech over and over again, so that's Article 1, Section 2 at the state level. So they violate their own constitution and can't figure this out. And it would be the unparalleled definition of Article 1, Section 2's free speech. It says publish. That's what I did. It was out in the public on a Facebook or YouTube page. So they have directly contradicted their own rights given to us at the state level and in the federal, of course. So it's all over the place. So the brief run through one last time is Article 1, Section 7, Congress and the President. They're all pieces of shit. Article 2, Section 1, these doctors can't take away my pursuit. Article 3, Section 1, these courtrooms can't exist. Article 4, Section 1, they're not even keeping public acts and records. Article 6, Section 1, Supremacy Clause. Amendment 1, free speech, abridgment of speech, enforcement of religion. Amendment 2, removal of rights without due process, my gun rights. Amendment 4, using or misconstruing a warrant against me. Amendment 5, due process, even requisition. I'm owed so much money because they're taking my private property and just exposing it to the public. Amendment 6, it's a mockery inside of their courtrooms. You don't commit a crime and they give you the assistance of counsel. Amendment 8, they commit to public torture against you. Amendment 9, it's all construed against itself. Amendment 10, this is prohibited and not delegated. Amendment 14, equal protection and due process, again at the state level for whatever reason. So what may I do? This is a government committing to sedition and rebellion against me and its people. I still have a Second Amendment right then. So I get a gun and I killed him. And I beat the charges. Because I'm right. It's treason. And there's nobody in the country standing up for it. And in Article 3, Section 3, treason is defined as levying war. War makes one an enemy combatant. War. War. Kill.